everyone, it's Brian with GreyWolf Towers again. So, I apologize, it's been a little while since I've done a video. The couch is actually about to go, so I'll be back to a similar one to older videos that I had. It's a brown one, it's smaller than this one. It's basically just a new version of the same couch that I used to have before this one. And I haven't had a chance to get my hair done recently, so if it sticks out in weird places, it's on me. So I apologize that I haven't been as active lately. Between school, family, and now the wife being pregnant, it has been harder for me to do a video a week or more than that. And so I'm more or less doing one a month on average right now, while I'm going to school and the wife's pregnant, and probably for the rest of 2024 probably. But I did get a new video card and I wanted to show you all what it looks like and see if it's the card for you. Now, I won't be able to show you the lights on it, but you can Google it. It's easy to see it with the fans lit up. It is actually a really nice looking card, professional, sleek, and gamerish at the same time. If you get a chance to get it at retail price, like regular retail price, it is definitely not a bad deal. It's on par with the 7900 XTX from AMD, performance-wise, but has all the features that NVIDIA has for boosting stuff. So you get a little extra with it, but you pay a little more. I paid $1,069.99 for this card at regular retail. I did not spend the $1,390 or whatever that it goes for in the scalping prices. So at $1,070 before tax, it was worth buying this over the 7900 XTX in my opinion, because for my classwork, I do have to do a lot of stuff involving AI and using CUDA cores and different things, Blender and things like that, that actually utilize NVIDIA technology more than they use AMD, and so the performance will be better on my stuff with this specific instance. But I'm not saying by any means that this card is better than an AMD card. It's on par with it. With DLSS, you do get better frame rate, but from what I've seen and heard, you also lose a little bit of quality, so it's a give and take. This card is supposed to be 4K capable at 60 Hertz, or 60 FPS. So it is a very nice, powerful card. I'm going to be using it with 3440 by 1440 screens, so it's not going to be running 4K, so it should be capable of running that at a good performance. I was kind of disappointed with my Red Devil 6950 XT. In the one game that I play on a semi-regular basis, it gets 55 to 60 frames per second on my 3440 by 1440 screen. That game recommends for 1080p gaming and a GTX 660. A 660. And it has trouble with it at the 1440p with a 6950 XT. So the coding in that game sucks. This one is supposed to be much better, not only than the 6950 XT, but also NVIDIA is the company that that specific game is actually optimized for NVIDIA graphics cards. So hopefully I'll get more than 60 FPS out of it. But that aside, let's go ahead and crack this bad boy open and take a look and see what we get for our $1,140 after tax in my case. That's 6.45% tax. If you live in California, you'll be paying more. Most places typically pay more than I do. So $1,070 before tax. The Gigabyte RTX 4080 Super. Now, it is a 16 gigabyte graphics card. I do wish that with the Super they had done like the 4070 Ti Super and bumped up the VRAM to like 20 or 24 gigs, but they didn't. So let's take a look and see what we get though for our just shy of $1,100. So on the box you do get the normal stuff. It gives you the breakdown of everything, all the normal marketing stuff, and it does have like serial number and all that. And I'll be registering it before this video gets edited, let alone goes live. So it'll be registered beforehand if you are one of those people that zooms into the labels and things. So now inside the outer box is an inside box. It does have Gigabyte emblazoned on it. Now, one thing to note about the 4000 series specifically, Gigabyte did have an issue where the original 40 series cards had really thin PCBs that bent and cracked and broke on a lot of the cards because of the sagging and the weight on them. Because of that, they did do a new revision of it. I don't remember if it was revision 1.1 or 2.0 or something like that, but whatever the revision of the card is, if it's not 1.x or 1.0, then it's got the new board. They were not covering them originally under warranty. I don't know if they ever did change that. And so for a while, I was not buying Gigabyte products, which is why I didn't end up with a 4080 original card. But with the 4080 Supers, they're supposed to use the new PCB, and so it should be better and not break as easily. But also, this model does include a support bracket, which I will show. I was able to open the box because it was not sealed, and you all know how I am about that. I do wish they had sealed the box. Even just a little bit of tape on it would have been nice to show that it was never opened before. I did take a look at the wrapped card. I have not opened it completely to look at it, so this will be my first time seeing the actual card itself. But I put it up against my 6950 XT installed in my case to see how much bigger it is. Holy crap, this thing is huge. Just the massive size of it, and I'll try to put a picture in right about now. So hopefully I was able to split that in and show you for a few seconds what the card size is compared to a Red Devil 6950 XT, which is really large on its own. Probably the largest card I've ever owned before this one. But let's take a look at it and see what we get in our package here. So we open it up, we've got foam, which includes a little envelope. And we've seen these with other brands as well, like MSI and whatnot. So there's a little warranty card with a little barcode. So like I said, I'll be registering this one later today. And then it's got the little installation guide and the quick guide for the graphics card. And I will be using this as well because it does have a type of sag bracket that I've never personally used. And so I want to make sure that I install it correctly. And I will show you what it is and give a brief description of how it's done. I understand the concept, but I want to make sure that I get it exactly right with this expensive of a graphics card. And I highly recommend that if you've never installed this type of bracket yourself, that you use the instructions as well the first time, especially if you're a new builder. Read the instructions, go through them. Do not just try and wing it. So, all right. Inside the package, we have, looks like screws to the bracket. We have the bracket that goes onto the graphics card itself, which I believe goes something like this. Onto the, like the graphics card will be sitting this way, and this goes on, and then it goes that way. So, but again, we're not, it may also go this way with the graphics card sitting this way and go into it, but again, I'll be using the directions to make sure. But this does connect to this, which these holes go to the motherboard. You take off screws from the motherboard, use screws from this bag to socket this into the case through the motherboard, and then the holder that goes onto the graphics card goes onto this. I will be using this bracket because the other bracket that I'm using will go with it to my wife's computer for the old card. Now, it does include a 3 PCIe 8-pin to 1 12 VH PWR adapter. There have been issues with these adapters that they say are, and some say aren't, involved in the 4090 meltdowns. I will not use that. I will use a direct cable to my power supply that it included with the power supply when I bought it, because it is a PCIe 5 ATX3 power supply, so it includes that 12V PWR cable as one of its cables. And we have the beast. So as you can see, I am 6 foot tall and rather wide built. I'm not a thin person, and this thing is almost shoulder to shoulder on me. So it is a very large card, not just in width like that, but also in thickness of the shroud and everything. But let's take a look and see what our card actually looks like, and I will show you the different aspects of it so you can see it and decide if it's the right card for you. Alright, so I am breaking the seals on the card, which say Gigabyte, qualified, Gigabyte, yada yada yada. So it's basically just saying that they were the ones that put this tape on, and it's that seal tape, type tape that like police used to use and things like that, so that it, when it breaks the seal, you get residuals on it, so you can tell that it's been opened before. So this will never be unsealed. I probably could have used like a heat gun and gone at it and done it, but I'm not that kind of person, so I'm never going to bother with that. All right. Wow. Okay. So this card is not only bigger from end to end than the 6950 XT Red Devil card, it is also thicker in the shroud and the heatsink. So it is a really, really large graphics card. I mean, it literally is almost shoulder to shoulder on me. And then it's a good like 2 to 3 inches. It's at least 3 slots are going to be taken up by it, because there's extra for the fan shroud that goes beyond the two the 2 ports that it would normally take up on the I/O back plate. It does have covers in each of the connectors. It has 1 HDMI down here, 3 display ports. If I remember correctly, these are a 2.0 HDMI and a 1.4 display port. They could be 1.4A on the display ports and potentially 2.1 on the HDMI. The 4090, however, does have 1.4A and 2.1. So it could have either or. I didn't really look. I apologize. But either way, at 1.4 DisplayPort and 2.0 on the HDMI, it's got a really good throughput and can handle pretty decent graphics through that. You can run up to 4 monitors on this one card. You can also add other cards in if you need to for additional monitors, but they did state specifically that it will handle a monitor on all of them at the same time if that's what you want. So 3 display ports, 1.4 or 1.4A, and an HDMI, it's either 2.0 or 2.1. This specific card, when it's sitting in the machine, does say GeForce RTX here, and this is an LED RGB screen that has Gigabyte written on it, that through Gigabyte Fusion you can change that. I do not, however, see a RGB cable connection to run this to the motherboard, so it will be through the socket, which, thank you, I love. This is great. This is exactly what I was hoping for with my Red Devil card. Unfortunately, it had a separate cable for the RGB, which was very disappointing to me, because I used to have a 1070 Ti Duke edition from MSI, and it had the same way this does, where you plug it in and through the PCIe it would change the RGB on it, and I loved that. I had EVGA cards that had the same thing. EVGA 2070 had the same thing. The Gigabyte 2080 had the same thing. The 2080 Super from Zotac had the same thing. With the Red Devil RX 6950 XT, it had a cable that you had to attach separately, which made a new cable that had to run down here, and it was all the way over here. and so you had to run it down that way, and so it was in front of the card, made cable management look like crap. So I did not like that. I am going to go ahead and peel this because after this video is filmed, we will be putting this card in the computer. And it looks like that's the only one there. Now, it does have what seems to be, I'm thinking aluminum. It does not sound like plastic, but I could be wrong. But we'll take that peel as well. It has a nice looking backplate either way. It says Gigabyte, but there's no RGB on the backplate. It does say GeForce RTX over here. Has a space for the fan to blow through to keep it cool. Has some space down here as well. It is nice to have that ventilation. However, I would like to have had RGB for Gigabyte or whatever. Whatever they wanted their logo to be. They've got that triangle that was on the front of the box. That would have been cool to have an emblem on the back that was RGB. My Red Devil card has it. The new 7900 XTX Red Devil has it. Zotac's 4080 Super has the Zotac emblem on it, and it's RGB. I don't know why they didn't do that here, but they didn't. So just understand it is typed onto it, like it's painted on. It's not RGB. The GeForce RTX is painted on, it's not RGB, but the Gigabyte name over here will light up RGB and is addressable in the software. Each of the 3 fans has a ring inside, and the ring is RGB that is addressable through the software, RGB Fusion software. So it is an X16 PCIe 4.0 card. My machine runs at PCIe 5.0 slot, so it will handle this and future cards, so that is good as well. You do see the cables down here for fans and RGB, however, they're out of the way, they're not going to be an issue, and so there is that. This is going to be a big card in that machine. I would love to say I was going to vertical mount it so you see the RGB, but unfortunately, because of my case and everything, I will be mounting it sideways like normal. So the only RGB that'll be fully visible is Gigabyte, and then the lights will show bouncing off of the basement for the power supply. So that is our card. I do hope that this unboxing helps you to decide if this is the right GPU for you or not. Again, my recommendation is if you are looking for a high-powered GPU at a good price, the 4080 Supers are perfectly fine. They're great performance. They match the 7900 XTX, give or take 1% or so, depending on the game you're playing. They are a great graphics card. They have the extras that NVIDIA passes on to you. They are slightly more expensive. The Red Devil recently dropped from $1,029.99 down to like $979.99. So it is below $1,000. This is just barely over $1,000. You do pay for extras most of the time though. So personally, I have not experienced any of the problems that people talk about with the AMD Adrenalin drivers. I've always had good luck. They've always worked for me. My 6950 XT is an amazing card. I've built computers with 7900 XTXs and no issues at all with them. I have no brand preference on this other than the fact that I have classes that utilize the technology that NVIDIA themselves built and utilize that is proprietary and AMD does not have access to. If I had been told that I would be using AMD version of AI softwares, then I would have gone with the 7900 XTX. And I would have been doing a video on that right now, which I've already done. I'll try and remember to link it up here, but it is in the graphics card unboxing videos. It is a Sapphire Nitro Plus 7900 XTX, an amazing looking card, and it also performs amazingly from what I've heard from the person that I built that with. So again, great card. Performance should be excellent. I will try and do an update video in the next couple weeks to let you all know how it performs, whether or not it beats that 60 FPS mark with my one game that I play, which is not a common game. I'm sure in regular games that are more commonly played, I'm sure that the 6950 XT would do better than it does in this one specific game. I love the game, but it's very, very poorly optimized overall. But it is also with CryEngine, which is an older engine that is designed specifically to give NVIDIA cards a performance boost, and it does not give a performance boost to AMD cards, even newer ones. If I do decide to get into ray tracing, the 4000 series is also currently the best at ray tracing, and so that will give me something to look forward to in there. I've never actually used ray tracing myself because I've never seen a need for it, but who knows, maybe I'll toss it on there and see. And if I'm getting more than, if I'm getting like 120 FPS on my 144 hertz screen, maybe I'll toss ray tracing onto it and run it with ray tracing and take the hit down to 60 FPS that I already currently run it at, and I'll still be good. And who knows, maybe it'll be 90 FPS with it if it's that good. But either way, more than 60 FPS, I'll be extremely happy on the game. And then with my schoolwork and business stuff that I'm doing, this will be an improvement over my 6950 XT. Even in raw performance, without any of those extra features, this card is supposed to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 1.5 times the performance. So theoretically, I should be getting a minimum of about 80 to 90 frames, bare minimum out of the box. But again, I'll try and do an update video to let you all know. That aside, I do hope that this video has helped you to decide if this is the right video card for you or not. Again, at regular retail price, it's a good deal. At scalping prices of $1,300, $1,400, no go in my opinion. I would never have bought it if I had been stuck with that. I bought this one on Newegg. Amazon is always being scalped right now. On Newegg, it fluctuates. I saw it, decided that I'd wait a day before making a decision just to think it out. By that time, it had sold out. It took a week to come back. I was like, you know what? I want the card. I'm going to buy it. But it is such a hard market to get these cards right now that after seeing it sell out, I was going to get a different model, a white model of the Arrow of Gigabyte. Only it sold out the day that I was going to make the purchase. This one had been sold out for almost a week at that time. I decided to just go ahead and wait until one of them came back in stock. This one came back in stock for $1,070 plus tax. I went ahead and bought it. Less than an hour later, the price had jumped to $1,390, and then it went out of stock. And it is now showing $1,070, but out of stock. So, and that was straight from Newegg, shipped and sold directly on both of those prices that I paid and the higher price. So they actually scalp their own products, whereas Amazon just sells out of them and somebody else is buying them and sells them at a markup. So I'd rather personally buy from Amazon with a better return policy, and they're not actually the ones reselling them at a higher price. But that aside, anyway, I do hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you found it entertaining and educational. If you did, make sure you hit the like button down below. If you have any questions about myself, the channel, or the product, make sure you leave those either down in the comment section or on Twitter at TowersGrey. I hope this video helped you to decide if this is the right card for you or not. And I just hope that you have a great day. Thank you for watching, everyone. Bye for now.